This is like the transit of the year that you're probably going to hear a lot of people start talking about as we get closer to April, is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. We haven't had a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus since 1941. Some of the things that were going on in 1941 that just right away, elephant in the room, yes, World War II, we know. Does that mean that we're going to have World War III now? Not necessarily. No, we already know that there's wars going on in the world. There's involvement with other countries. We know that that's a thing. So this is where there's heaviness. I'm not comfortable with heaviness. I'll go ahead and tell you that. I don't love it. I don't like to sit and talk about the negative things that could happen. But it's good to compare this and say, what was going on at the world at this time, and how have we taken all of our collective experiences from then up until now, and how might we have a similar pattern that manifests differently because we have more collective knowledge and experience. The free will part is that we need to use this collective knowledge and experience. When history buffs say we need to know our history so we can learn from it, I agree. We need to look at this and look at these past cycles and say, we really didn't do the right thing. When we're talking about some of the things of 1941, it took a long time to create a solution for a horrific problem. And we can look at this and say, how can we fix this faster? That's something that might come up. When we think about the energy of Uranus, we think of revolutions. We think of people like the little guy saying, like, you can't take from us anymore. So what we've seen coming up, even with Jupiter and Uranus being in the same sign, is strikes. Ironically enough, in May of 1941, the Disney animation studio was under a major strike. So that's funny because most of my friends in LA are TV producers, writers, and there was a lot of struggles last year being on strike. That we might have some more of that with different components of the creative industry, because we're dealing with creative topics when we're talking about Taurus being a Venus-ruled sign. On the bright side, we had the release of Citizen Kane during that year, which is still regarded as like one of the best movies of all time, one of the most revolutionary movies of all time. So I look at this positively and say, we could get some really beautiful, meaningful media and art from this transit. And we need to tap into our own resources of art and sensuality to create what we've been wanting to do, to carve out time for our own creative projects. It's a good time to take evaluation of our resources as far as time, money, our bodies, to really get in touch with our bodies and figure out what we actually need so we don't overconsume, overhoard, so that we keep the cycle of abundance flowing and we have exactly what we need. Some of this can be a little polarizing because if we think about the energy of a fixed sign is like my way or the highway. So one thing we want to keep in mind as we move through this transit for basically the whole month of April, we're going to feel it a little bit at the end of March, and it's going to be done by the end of May. But this exact date is April 21st. This is going to be kind of like the tension moment of things, maybe leading up to it a little bit. So say April 18th through the 21st is where this is the most tense. So get in touch with your body. Evaluate your resources. Don't feed into the fear of the media, but do what you can to make the world a better place in your communities, in your neighbors, in your family, and pay attention to what's going on so that we don't repeat negative patterns in history. There's going to be a lot of revolutions, probably more strikes where the little guy uprises. And I think that's a good thing because we are in desperate need of a restructuring after several years of Pluto in Capricorn.